This is the final word with Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon. And with us today, we have a guest that I've had wanted to get on the show for some time, owing to the various things he's been doing in European cricket. The hook is that Germany are playing this week in the qualifier for the T20 World Cup. Dan Weston has played for Germany. He's been integral in getting German cricket off the ground, but beyond that has a very big hand in what's taking place this week in Spain with the European Cricket League, and so it goes. Dan Weston, a West Australian, welcome to the final word.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, pleasure to be on.
Let's just start with Germany, shall we? So they won their group this week, they would have been playing in the T20 World Cup at Geelong or Hobart this week. Now, that hasn't played out, but it says a fair bit around their progress in recent years, which you've been quite a big part of. They had in their group Bahrain, Ireland and the UAE. They didn't win any games, but can you try and put in perspective where German cricket was, say, 7 or 8 years ago compared to this week when they've had this extraordinary opportunity to play on a much bigger stage?
Yeah, no, thanks, Adam. It's a demographic story. It's a socioeconomic story. It was I arrived from Perth, Western Australia, and I got to Germany in 2007. And I Googled Munich Cricket Club because I was in Munich, and I found that there was a club in existence there, and went down and met the guys and made a lot of friends sort of instantly. But it was a lot of expats from England, Australia, New Zealand, etc. And it was very much a social sport. Now, because of the war in Afghanistan and a huge drive of German companies that needed engineering talent, there was a huge migration of cricket-loving people from the Indian subcontinent that either came across as refugees or came across to study engineering and maths and science and all the things that Germany are good at. So I saw a transition of cricket being played in parks in Germany for a social laugh to then within those 7 or 8 years, then all of a sudden club cricket in Germany became very highly competitive, performance-based, and essentially cricketers that didn't want to have a social time, they wanted to have a high performance time. And that really inspired me to see that, hey, hold on a second, these people that are arriving in Germany are not leaving. They love their game. They want to play cricket to the highest level as possible. And that was the really big driver around a bit of the changing shift. It was just the way people love their cricket went from being a social thing to being a performance-driven thing. And off the back of that, I love the game and was spending a lot more time in Germany than I ever expected because of my career progress and business progress. Met a girl and fell in love with her, and she was a German. And all of a sudden, it was a story of, I think I'm going to be in Germany forever. I think I'm going to have German Australian children. And if there's a future for German kids to end up being cricketers and footballers like they are in Australia, and having a winter sport and a summer sport, then I think, it was sort of up to me to try and do something quickly. And obviously with the power of social media, that was where the people were that were new in Germany and wanted to play cricket in Germany. And I created a social media platform called German Cricket TV to create content and live streams and just make the awareness of cricket in Germany known to a public, and it sort of started growing from there.
So live streaming's become a huge thing in recent years, but it probably wasn't a big deal 6 or 7 years ago when this all started. Just explain, I suppose, the process you went through to realising there's an opportunity here, and not only a demographic story, but a story of investment too, really, isn't it? Where you saw that you needed to find a vehicle to put some money behind it.
Yeah, so in playing for Germany, we played in a 12-degree rain-shortened match against Sweden in an ICC European Division 4 or something. It was an event like this. Germany won the game with a good bunch of guys. When we walked off the field, there was one of the brothers of the players doing a Facebook Live from his phone of the team essentially walking off the field successful. And that got thousands of views. Then at night, we were sitting there having a team dinner, and all the boys, Volkswagen should sponsor us, BMW should sponsor us, or any German company name you could think of, should sponsor us because we're so good. And I'm just sitting there as an entrepreneur or as a business person thinking, they're never going to sponsor it, guys, because no one can see it. And if you can't see it, then there won't be any corporate attention there. So, but I had this in my head, and obviously, Kerry Packer was obviously a big story in reshaping Australian cricket, and these sort of things were just sort of eating away in my mind and stomach over that period. And there was serious momentum in German cricket on a performance level, but nowhere to see it, and it was the end of the summer. So what I had this idea was, let's do a crowdfunding campaign to raise enough money to get the German squad together in Frankfurt for one more sort of post-season training camp. And the idea was to get the full squad of 25 players into Frankfurt. And then I thought, well, let's try and film it, create some content around it, and see who wants to watch it. So, and in my apartment in Munich downstairs was a production company. So I knocked on the door. Hi, Benedict, I'm Daniel. Do you know cricket? And he says, no, I don't know cricket. And I said, okay, not a problem. It's this sport. And he said, okay, I think I know that. I've got an idea. I'd like you to help me produce a game of cricket, and I want to see how many people see it. So with the money from the crowdfunding, we paid for all the players across Germany to meet in Frankfurt. And we got there. They had a production van, plugged it into the power socket, and the power socket blew. And then 2 hours later, we got the generator, and then realized we needed diesel, put in the diesel in the generator. And we had this game on the Saturday where it was raining. The guy was set up his camera at mid-wicket, and he was filming, the pace bowler running off his long run. And then sort of as he bowled it, he'd move the camera there, and he didn't know what he was filming at all. And then that was the end of the first day. I thought, oh, geez, that was a shocker. Then the next day, I had one GoPro with me, and I said, okay, well, that cameraman, I said, don't worry about filming the guy from mid-wicket. Change the angle, got him focusing more on the batsman and bowler together. I put a GoPro behind the stump, and it was another rain, horrible day. But then with that, I took the content from the GoPro, I took the content from this camera. I locked myself in a room while I was still running my business on the other screen, and what my idea was to cut 20 short clips. Well, all of the players that were filmed over that weekend, make very short clips of each of them, put a player profile behind them, and then upload them and see who wanted to see it. And it was I cut them all. Then I was in front of Facebook, and I thought, oh, what should I call this? And I called it German Cricket TV. And then at sort of 6 a.m. each morning, I was uploading these 20 clips. There was a few 100,000 viewers over the next week or so of people watching this content, and it was from Germany and it was from India. And I thought, oh, that's fascinating. Then I got a phone call from someone in the cricket community in Frankfurt saying, hey, we've got an indoor cricket tournament. Can you come and, German Cricket TV, it was a brand then, can you come and create content? So I bought 6 GoPros. I went to Frankfurt. I put these 6 GoPros around the indoor cricket hall, or the indoor school gym, press record on all these GoPros, and created content the next week around that. Then I got another phone call from Hamburg saying, hey, we've got an indoor cricket tournament. Can you come and produce content for that? So then I bought another 6 GoPros. We ended up with 12 GoPros, did that event. Then the next one, I bought another 6. We ended up with 18 GoPros on the front of the stump, the back of the stump, the umpire, the basketball rim, the side. And then what I was doing was clipping very short social media friendly clips with 18 GoPros all synchronized. And it was unbelievable content. And the number of views in Germany was skyrocketing, which then meant that the number of clubs was growing like wildfire. We went from 60 clubs to then 370 clubs in the space of the 18 months where we were just creating content around German cricket, not live viewing, but not live streaming, sorry, but just creating great short clips that were built for social. I was still running my hedge fund at the time and very much concentrating and focusing on that. I employed 2 friends from Munich Cricket Club to sit in my office with me. So I was trading derivatives and they were creating cricket content. And we did not have any business plan. We didn't have any ambition to take that much further apart from cricket's a game I love. I'm going to be here for a long time. If we can continue growing the number of clubs, then let's do it. Go, go, go. Then we did, a summer of T20 cricket playing domestically. And what we found was there was incredible talent every corner of Germany that's able to play the game at a high level, that are there working or studying or just integrating into German life and German culture. And all of a sudden got this cricket event, happening left, right, and centre. Then again, that was a huge investment from our side, just love and commitment into it, and then helping the German Cricket Federation pay for training camps and anything that would just improve the game and the preparedness for the German national team. And and I was a player at that point in time, and it was hard for me to run my business and try to run this German Cricket TV monster and also try to play for Germany at the same time with a newly wedded wife. And but again, there was no business plan around it. It was just a passion project, which it still is today, I guess. And then we were asked by the Swiss Cricket Federation. There's a thing called cricket on ice, which is played on the frozen lake of St. Moritz. And then they asked German Cricket TV to come and live stream that. So we went there and we live streamed cricket on ice. And then we were very lucky at a dinner that was there at the time, where I met a guy called Roger Feiner, who's now our CEO, but he was the head of broadcasting at FIFA. And I told him about what I was doing with German Cricket TV and about myself and about the whole potential of cricket in Germany, but cricket across the European continent in general. We had a few glasses of wine, and Mike Hussey was sitting next to me because I knew Mike from playing in Wanneroo back in Perth. And it was just an extraordinary night with cricketing people there in Switzerland. And then the very next day, I met Roger again on the ice by accident. And he said, "Hey, Daniel, great to meet you last night. My friends Frank and Thomas, I'd like to introduce you to them." And I said, "Oh, great. Who are they?" And he said, "Oh, they were the founders of the Champions League." And I said, "Oh, which Champions League?" And he said, "Oh, the UEFA Champions League." And I said, "Okay, great." And then he said to me, "Look, we're looking for a new international sport to try and help grow in Europe. We think now that I've met you, I think cricket's the sport, and you're the guy that's going to do it. How about if we exchange details when we meet in a month's time?" And then, so I was, as I say, I was still running my business and very much focused on that. And then I had an opportunity within 30 days to prepare an idea to pitch to these guys about how to develop a project in Europe. And then it became very clear for me. I was thinking about the Big Bash and the IPL and American sports, and I thought, wow, as soon as I started to create content in Germany, the number of clubs went from, exponential. And I'm meeting the guys behind the world's greatest ever club sporting event. So it's easy. I have to create the Champions League of European cricket, whereby the best club team from Europe should come to a competition where they can play against each other to see who is the champion club team, across all these countries. And they believed in this crazy guy's story, that we should do that, because we had 52 million views on social media that year. And they said to me, "Look, we agree with the." It's a bit noisy. The 60 kids arriving today from a local school to play cricket, so it's cool. My ambition was to start the league. And they said, "Look, on a digital side, we're not sure if the UEFA Champions League is watched on Sky or Fox or UEFA.com in the future. And what you've done with German Cricket TV is created this really strong digital community. So we think we need to start a digital community for European cricket as well as the event itself." And so we created the European Cricket League and the European Cricket Network on the train on the way home. The name came to mind. And then this was 2019, whereby we had to sort of call the federations. The federations knew me as a player and as a supporter of German cricket, and I pitched to the 8 federations the idea of joining the first ever Champions League of European cricket. It was 8 countries, and it was 3 days, and it was a really expensive but really fun test event. And that's where Pavel Florin obviously played for the Romanian club championship, and VOC Rotterdam scored 222 in a T10 to win the final. And it was a big explosion of a test event which had so much great spirit and passion and love for the game that we were really excited about it. And it was meant to be a T20 event because T20 was the gold standard of cricket around the world. But when I looked at the budget, and I always want to do things bigger and faster, etc. But we sat around and thought, 8 teams in 3 days. And then I tried to schedule it, and I couldn't find a winner in 3 days with T20. So then I thought, oh my gosh, what about T10? Maybe T10 actually, shifts the balance in we've got Scotland playing against Czech right now, champions, and it's an even game. And it's an even game because of this T10 format. And then I had to then say to the federations, who I'd told it would be a T20 event, it's now going to be T10. And they were like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, please, it'll go to T20 next year. But for the first test event, T10. We did T10 at that event, and literally those same federations came up and they punched me in the arm and said, "Daniel, T10 works. This is brilliant. It's got to stay T10." And then it was the huge viral exposure. It was on many broadcasters around the world, and went viral with lots of social media, really good, positive stories. I wanted to grow it the next year to 15 teams, but then Corona took hold. wanted to grow it again. Then Corona took hold in 2021 again. And now I sit here, behind the LED scoreboard of what is the second edition of the European Cricket League, Champions League of European Cricket.
So Dan, tell us about what's your background with cricket in Australia, and then how did you end up qualifying to play for Germany?
I've got photos of myself as a 2-year-old in Perth, Western Australia, with a bat and pads and gloves that Mum made for me, and love my cricket and footy since early days. I was playing at Wanneroo District Cricket Club, and then Bayswater Morley in Melville, where I got to play with Marcus North and Adam Voges, and they were my captains, and Sean Marsh was the captain of my West Australian under-19s career. I started trading stocks when I was 15, and I loved investing and trading on the markets. I then started a tech company when I was 18 that I sold when I was 23. And it was just, I loved business and trading and cricket, essentially. I also loved Europe. So when I had the first opportunity after high school, I went to Europe on some holidays with friends, and just loved the culture and history of Europe. And then when after I sold the business and moved to Europe, I was essentially trading stocks from my laptop while traveling around. I got to Munich, and I met a guy who was running Macquarie Bank Germany, and he offered me a job to work with him alongside him. And and that was the moment where I thought, wow, the path less trodden was all of a sudden with an opportunity to work with ex-head of Macquarie Bank in Munich. I saw on Google there was a Munich Cricket Club. I'm in the middle of Europe, and wow, what comes next sort of thing. So as I say, I was then very much focused on my business, because I started a hedge fund based on my trading experience and a newsletter that I had out there, where I called the 2008 issues in the world markets, and then 2009 recovery, etc. So I was getting backing from people around the region of Switzerland and in Germany, which meant my business career was growing. And on the cricket side of things, it was the expat fun. But then, because I'm not much of a beer drinker, social cricketer. I'm a performance, I love performance cricket. So I sort of let cricket go by the wayside for those years while I was focusing on the business. Then I was working from New York, thinking that I was going to stay in New York for good. Got back to Munich to pack up my bags, and that's where I met my now wife on Tinder. So when that moment happened, getting back involved in cricket in Germany, as I say, I could see all these performance cricketers, not the social cricketers. And that's when I then looked at the ICC eligibility criteria. And at that stage, it was 7 years. And I'd done my 7 years already in Germany. So I qualified then to play for Germany. And then in my local club, I then talked to the German Federation and said, look, what's the pathway? And the pathway was, getting picked from your local area to go into trials. And I went into trials and got selected based on the back of a 7-year residency requirement, which they've now changed to 3 years, which is very good in many ways, because there's just so many young, newly entered immigrants into Europe, mainly coming from the Indian subcontinent, of course, that qualify after 3 years, and then they can add a lot of value to the strength of a cricket team in a country like Italy or Germany or Spain.
Yeah, I mean, it's a remarkable story from head to toe, really. But I mean, there's a bit of this where the sustainability of countries to improve over time can't just be in relation to people arriving with 3 years residency or whatever it is. That's good, of course, and you see that in the story of perhaps Ireland or Italy even as they've made their way through the ranks. You were that for Germany in a way, weren't you? I mean, you effectively were a passport player, but having lived there, of course, but nevertheless, being an expat from Australia. Can you just talk a little bit about that and that challenge for Germany to take the next step, and how it'll need to be homegrown, and how what you were able to achieve all those years ago with German Cricket TV should be the foundation for that, and not relying so heavily on migration?
Yeah, for me, it's all about parents and heroes. And German cricket isn't going to be huge next year. It's not going to be huge the year after. It's actually, unfortunately, it's a very, very long, very, very long-term story. I think that the future of cricket in Europe might have been 100 years away unless we did something today or did something yesterday. And then I think we can bring it to sort of a 25-year story. So what we're doing now with European Cricket League, there's 22 people on the park right now in this match that are finally getting a chance to be seen as stars because they're being broadcast. Now, when those guys play, they're either fathers or their uncles or their future parents, and then their children will see their father or their father's friend playing on TV. Now, when I was a 2-year-old playing cricket, I could see Alan Border on the TV, and I didn't know if Alan Border was. I just knew he was a hero. With these guys, you know, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old sees them on a live stream and thinks they're a hero. You know, they're hitting sixes, they're taking wickets, they're celebrating, they're wearing the shirts with pride. You know, so that moment, and we've got a lot of plastic bats and balls here. All it needs to do is say, okay, that is a hero. I want to hit a ball. Let's just start hitting a ball. And by the time a kid starts to hit a ball, then they should tell their friend, and their friend might be, you know, a 10th generation Spanish child. But they don't know as a 5-year-old whether cricket is a Spanish sport or not, you know. It's about it's about the children of today's cricketers having something to see and say, hey, wow, what a great sport, or my dad is a hero. Because as I say, the 4-year-old doesn't know if Ronaldo is on 100 million or on nothing. All he knows is it's a person that I could aspire to be like. And he's playing sport, and I want to play sport too. And I think that's where it starts. Is actually today's cricketers in Europe are not going to win a World Cup, but they're actually the pioneers who are being they're impressionable on their children who are born in Europe, growing up in Europe, multilingual, speaking European languages and their mother tongues as well. And that's how it inspires. It's a very long journey. But you need it to be like Steve Smith. You have to have a bat in your hand before you're 5 years old. You know you can't pick it up when you're 20 and then move the needle. So it's all about the current cricketers have to be promoted and placed on a platform, which is exciting for them, which very much is, because they're living out their dreams by playing in the European Cricket League, which is on live stream. But it's their children that need to see it and say, hey, I want to do that too.
I remember being surprised during the first European Cricket League season just how much of it I saw. There were all these clips coming up on socials. It was being screened. There were people watching it. It was being talked about. Maybe that wasn't a surprise to you, given how many views you were getting just from filming indoor tournaments in Germany and so on. But like, to what level was it? Like, how gratifying was it, and how surprising was it that the take up was so quick and that there was such interest in it? It's very emotional. It's there's tears almost on a daily basis, because we're giving people the best days of their lives, like every single day, because people love cricket with so much passion. Then they get a chance to live out a childhood dream, but also with their club, who they were so passionate about. You know, so there's passion left, right, and centre. I'm not surprised, because like that's who I am. Like, I'm someone that's very passionate about the game and passionate about the club, and they're the people that I know I now spend my days with, hang around. So we're all crazily passionate about what we're doing. So it's almost like, it's not surprising. It's almost like welcoming, because you feel as though you're with the right people. And then seeing someone, and then seeing someone like Pavel Florin, who you mentioned before, and the sudden celebrity he was able to acquire, and so much of it was about just the sheer enthusiasm. You know, it was people responding to his joyousness in playing, no matter who he was playing for or where he was turning up. I suppose to play a part in someone like him having that experience, you know, later in his life when he wasn't expecting to have it, and then suddenly there's this these wonderful days are visited upon him almost out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, it's about love for what you do and pride, and these things collide on cricket fields all the time. And when you're able to be there and capture it, Pavel, it was could write a book about that day. Pavel loves the game so much and very outgoing. His captain decided to give him a bowl at the end of that innings. Pavel had no idea that when he bowled, then all of a sudden Fox was a bit anti, let's say that, and then Sky was pro that that whole moment. And then he got off the ground, and I had the captain running over to me, apologizing. "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry, but I wanted to give him a bowl, and I hope it didn't make your league look bad." And I said, "No, not at all. You're the captain. You make your decisions on who bowls." And then Pavel was walking off the ground, had no idea about what had just happened in that match. And our commentator ran over to him and just said, "Pavel, how do you feel?" And that's when Pavel said, "How I play is not beautiful, but I love cricket, and that's what's special to him." So yeah, what we're doing is very raw, very authentic. It's grassroots, and it's a little bit reality TV clashed with sport, and that's where you get these completely unplanned, unknowable stories that come out of nowhere, but they happen on a daily basis because of the people's backgrounds that are here.
And the way that it's being seen as well, just go through that if you can. So, I mean, a lot of people would love to be all over Fox Cricket and other major platforms around the world, but could never dream of having that exposure. How did you engineer it in such a way that the European Cricket League was being viewed in? Was it 120 countries in season one? That's staggering in its own right. How did that come to pass? A desire to invest in something that's beautiful, something that's authentic and perfect and classy and well done. We're working with so after meeting Roger Finer, Frank, and Thomas back in the previous story. That is I'm the founder. Roger is the CEO. Frank and Thomas are our board members. They built, so UEFA needed to rebrand the Champions League back in 1989, and they were the guys responsible for that. And Roger was head of broadcasting at FIFA for many years. So they only do things at the top level, and they know how to make things look great on a production side, but distribution side as well. And it's definitely not easy, but we just gave the content away for free to any taker that wanted to take it, because it's not if this is a business that's successful for the growth of the whole game, as I said, it's a 25-year story. So in the early days, we need as many people as possible to see it. So we say to all the broadcasters, can we please give you the signal for free so that you can take it and show it on your platforms? And that's how we did it. And we worked with media partners in Stockholm as well to just try and get the signal to all in every corner. We had 40 million viewers last week of this event, and it'll be the same again this week, and growing it from there. But yeah, we want to produce it with a great quality of the TV signal, and then we want to give it away to as many broadcasters as possible so that they show it. Which we've got some success in and we want to be free as often as we can, because free TV is such a key to getting hopefully more people watching it that end up with children watching it, and that's hard in itself thanks to the algorithms and this live streaming that happens in this world now. But it's also because of T10, we're playing a funny sport where we're playing 5 matches a day. So it turns into an 11-hour live stream. And it's hard for a TV channel to say, what? Like in our programming, how do we take 11 hours of content? So some broadcasters will say, okay, the Spanish team's playing, let's take the Spanish match. And because it's T10, it's 90 minutes. So within 2 hours, you've got an intro and an outro and a game of sport, which is similar to football, 45 minutes, 10-minute break and 45 minutes. And that's that 2-hour bite-sized sort of cricket match is where I think that the future of the sport lies, in something that's the same sort of length as football. But yeah, for broadcasting, we want to give the signal away for free anywhere we can, because we're making this investment now and in a strong way and for the long term. So it can't be about trying to sell things too early, too easy, because it doesn't happen in this world with a new sporting property. So yeah. The IPL was on the YouTube for free for the first 2 years, if you remember as well. Yeah, so it has to be done that way. Yeah.
What's been the trajectory? You're in the second edition of the league now. What's been the trajectory from the first one in terms of the number of clubs that are involved, the number of countries involved, players, the audience? How has that moved from first to second edition, and where do you think it can go?
So we had, I think this will be the second biggest cricket event on the planet after the IPL. I really do, because
here we've got, this is like the World Cup. It's a cultural collide of all countries coming together within Europe, because Europe is so multicultural. The time zone fits perfectly for the Indian primetime audience as well. And it's great, authentic, fast action cricket. So I think I might be dead, but it'll take a long time to get that way. But I think it's got all the makings of a really special sport over here, in a place where football ends and then there's not a lot, and then football starts again. So I think there's generally a space for a bat and ball team sport in Europe, and I want it to be the number one bat and ball team sport in Europe in the longer term. We've now gone to 30 teams in this. So we had 8 teams in the first. Now it's 30 teams from 29 countries. So the 29 countries plus one, which is the previous champions. So VOC Rotterdam from the Netherlands, they won ECL 19, so they get automatic qualification back. And then the champion club from the other 29 countries come here. We're doing it in group weeks. So there's six teams per group. So we've got 5 group weeks and then a finals week. So with this is 144 matches of cricket from 30 teams in 29 countries. It's the world's biggest cricket event. But it's still an unknown. it's still an unknown. There's not too many. Yeah, there's only 3 or 4 more countries left in Europe that are ICC members that are not in the league, and I'd like to grow to continue to accommodate them as well. But as I say, from Prague Cricket Club are playing the champions of Scotland right now, and this has never been before seen. And it was I just saw on the scorecard here, it was a final over thriller. So these things happen all the time. At Tunbridge Wells, they're the champion T20 club of England. In week 1, they got beaten by Drew from Paris, right? Tunbridge Wells made 88 off 10 overs. Drew made them in 19 balls. They got 82 in 3 overs, and one more ball hit a 6 to win the game. So the cricket is on, T10 cricket is on steroids, and that's what people want to see. I was playing, I love all forms of cricket. I love Test cricket and I love T10, but T20 for me is a big block in the middle, which is nudge them around, and I think that's actually detrimental to the game. You want to see a power play and you want to see a death bowling, and in T10 that's all you get: power play and the death, and that's the good bit, which I love as a player and as a watcher. So T10 provides that.
It's an amazing story you're telling here. I mean, the very fact that you've got, 3 more weeks there. I feel like I should jump on a plane and come. I'm inspired by what you're telling us at the moment, and what it might be in the years to come. Just to finish where we started with Germany, I mean, you must take a lot of pride in, I know they didn't win and progress through to the tournament in Australia, but the very fact that they were potentially 2 wins away from qualifying for a World Cup from where you were and where this started, that must rightly bring you immense pride and joy.
Yeah, it does. It sure does. The German under-19s team, for example, they speak German. Their team huddles are in German. My son is a 4-year-old. He's hitting balls. We've got the foam balls, and we don't call it cricket. We call it big shots. And I throw him the foam balls, and he's with a mini bat whacking them around. It gives me a lot of pride to see Germany very close to a World Cup. I wonder why I'd love to see a cricket World Cup the same size as the football World Cup as far as number of countries.
Yep.
Because I can remember on a Thursday night watching, Australia versus Zimbabwe in a cricket World Cup 15 years ago now, and thinking, oh, this is going to be awesome, because what could happen in this game? Minnows against heroes. I really love, and I love an underdog. So can you believe the Turkish champion is going to play in the next game against the Italian champion? What world are we living in to see Turkish cricket champion playing an Italian cricket champion,
yes,
and we don't know what's going to happen in this next match in Spain. And our friends from the Barmy Army were here yesterday and loving it, going, this is unbelievable. Like, this cricket that we've got here is so exciting. And Barmy Army obviously have been to every career ground on earth, and they say this is so special. This is so special. So Germany will. Yeah, for me, Germany will be in a World Cup, and I hope that the expansion of the World Cup means that they'll be in there faster than we ever imagined. But when the Drew Cricket Club here in from Paris, they only speak French, and that's awesome. the under-19s German team doing all their team talks in German, brilliant. So for me, the children is not the current cricketers, but it's the kids that excite me the most, because they're European children with a bat in their hand and a football around their feet, and I grew up in a world where you do both, and I'd love European kids to grow up in a world when they do both as well, because the Don Bradman, the second Don Bradman, maybe they could have been Spanish or French or something like that, but because that person never had a bat in their hand, we never knew they existed. So yeah, this is a big generational story.
We talk a lot on The Final Word about our passion for growing the game in all corners of the world, and you're absolutely doing that through the European Cricket Network and the European Cricket League. Daniel Weston, thank you so much for being such a fantastic guest, and more power to you.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Thanks, Jeff. Anytime. Appreciate it.